Meet your fate, Captain Planet. Now that you're totally weakened, I'll make myself even stronger.
You probably remember Captain Planet as that colorful, feel-good cartoon that made Saturday mornings feel a little more heroic. It was that show that taught us about recycling, protecting nature, and working together to make the world a better place. Back then it seemed simple. The good guys were the Planeteers, and the bad guys were polluters, and Captain Planet was always coming through to save the day. But what if I told you that underneath all the bright colors and that catchy theme song, this childhood classic might be hiding something dark, disturbing secrets that no one ever really talked about. Secrets that once you hear them, could completely change the way you see the show forever. Because while Captain Planet may have been pitched as a lesson in saving the Earth, some of the stories, characters, and even the powers themselves have sparked theories that paint a much darker picture than any of us realized as kids. And here's the thing, once you dive into these theories, you'll never be able to watch the show the same way again. In fact, you might find yourself questioning whether Captain Planet was really the hero, or something way more disturbing. If you want to relive the series and see it all for yourself, I dropped a link in the description where you can grab the complete Captain Planet DVD collection. Trust me, once you hear what I'm about to share, you're gonna want to go back and rewatch the episodes with fresh eyes, and I guarantee you'll notice things you missed the first time. So stick around all the way to the very end, because theory number 5 isn't just the darkest one of them all. It's the one that will make you question everything you thought you knew about your childhood hero.
For now, I'll handle Greedly and the spill. You can help those animals.
Right! Go!
Now, we all grew up thinking Captain Planet was the ultimate good guy, the hero who swooped in to save the day. But what if I told you the real danger wasn't the villains or the pollution or even the greedy corporations? It was Captain Planet himself? Think about how he's summoned. Captain Planet doesn't just appear out of thin air. The Planeteers have to give up their rings, the very source of their own powers. It's almost ritualistic. They literally must surrender their independence, their will, and even their agency just to bring him into existence. And once he arrives, notice what happens? The kids become completely powerless. Their abilities are stripped away, while Captain Planet absorbs their energy and takes complete control. Never really thought about that one, huh? It's unsettling when you realize the truth. Every time he fights, the Planeteers are left vulnerable, standing on the sidelines, hoping they'll survive whatever chaos follows. Some fans believe this wasn't just storytelling convenience, it was a subtle clue. Captain Planet wasn't a hero, he was a parasite, feeding on the life force and innocence of children, draining their very essence so he could exist, even if only for a few minutes at a time. And here's where it gets even stranger. His presence is always dramatic, almost godlike. Glowing skin, booming voice, unstoppable power.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet.
Fun fact, did you know that Tom Cruise was the original voice of Captain Planet? Well, it's true. Alright, but look closely at the show. Captain Planet never stays long. The moment the battle is over, he vanishes, leaving the Planeteers exhausted. Could it be because he can't sustain himself without constantly feeding on their energy? Some fans argue he doesn't protect the children, he uses them. They're not partners in his mission, they're his fuel source. So here's the chilling question. Was Captain Planet really saving the world, or was he just saving himself again and again at the cost of the children he pretended to lead? And if Captain Planet himself wasn't the true hero, then what does that make the Planeteers? Because in theory number 2, the truth about their role might disturb you even more.
You are going to behave yourselves.
Hey, what is this? Hey, let me out!
It's a force field!
You ever notice how young the Planeteers really were? At first glance, they seem like ordinary teenagers, full of energy and optimism, but once you really think about it, the reality becomes disturbing. These weren't trained adults or seasoned heroes. They were kids, handpicked from around the globe, pulled away from their families, and dropped into battles that most grown soldiers would struggle to survive. Gaia called it a mission to protect the Earth. But what she was really doing was recruiting children for a war they didn't choose. Every week, they were sent against smugglers, poachers, terrorists, and even corporations armed with guns, bombs, and chemical weapons. Think about the dangers they faced, getting shot at, captured, or even killed, all while being teenagers who should have been worrying about school dances or soccer games, not eco-terrorism. The rings they were given weren't just magical trinkets, they were weapons. Wheeler could control fire, Linka controlled the winds, Kwame could reshape the very ground under his feet. Powerful, yes, but also dangerous. The burden of wielding that much responsibility would crush most adults, let alone kids. And notice how they were never given the choice to walk away? Once Gaia chose them, that was it. No turning back. No thanks, but no thanks. The rings bound them to her cause. And here's something that makes the theory even darker. Every time they failed to stop the villains, the world got worse.
My village!
Most of the rainforest is finally gone.
The pollution spread, the animals suffered, the planet decayed. So the kids weren't just fighting the bad guys, they were fighting against the crushing guilt of knowing that if they lost, it was their fault the world was dying. That's not heroism, that's psychological warfare. So were the Planeteers really heroes? Or were they just child soldiers in Gaia's endless war for control of the Earth? And if Gaia was willing to use children like that, to put them in harm's way again and again, what does that say about her true motives? The next theory might just change the way you see Gaia forever. Gaia was always presented as the kind and wise spirit of Earth, a glowing, almost motherly figure who only wanted to protect the planet. But if you really pay attention to the show, there's something unsettling about her role. She wasn't just a guide, she was in control. And some fans believe Gaia wasn't the protector we were told she was. She was the prison warden keeping the Planeteers trapped in a never-ending cycle of servitude. Think about it. Gaia handpicked each child, but we never really learned why those 5 kids were chosen.
These, then, are my first Planeteers. The world's greatest hope.
They weren't the smartest scientists or the strongest fighters, they were ordinary kids, and yet they were suddenly burdened with saving the entire planet. And once they got their rings, they were locked in. There was no maybe later or this is too much for me. Their lives were rewritten overnight and they didn't have a choice. Notice how Gaia never fought herself. She never stepped in to face the danger directly. Instead, she sat back in her crystal sanctuary watching from the shadows while the children risked everything. It was always the kids who confronted the poachers, the smugglers, the villains. Gaia had godlike powers. She literally controlled Earth's spirit. So why didn't she ever use that power to stop the destruction herself? Some fans say it's because she wasn't trying to save the Earth. She was testing the children, seeing how far they could be pushed, while she stayed safe and untouchable. And let's not ignore how the rings worked. They weren't just tools, they were bonds. Each child was tied to their element, whether they wanted it or not. Wheeler's fiery temper wasn't just his personality, it grew worse as he used the ring. Linka became more rigid, more controlling. Kwame carried the heavy weight of responsibility like the Earth itself was pressing down on him. It's almost as if Gaia wasn't just giving them powers, she was reshaping who they were, slowly bending their identities to fit her mission.
Through your power rings, each of you can control one power of nature to a limited degree.
Now ask yourself this, did the Planeteers ever get to say no? Did they ever tell Gaia they wanted to go home, back to their normal lives? Not once, because they couldn't. The mission was all-consuming. The world's survival rested on their shoulders, and Gaia made sure they knew it. If they walked away, they wouldn't just be quitting, they'd be dooming the entire planet. That's not freedom. That's captivity disguised as a purpose. So maybe Gaia wasn't the gentle protector we thought she was. Maybe she was a manipulator, pulling the strings while pretending to care. The kids thought they were serving Earth, but maybe they were just serving her. And if Gaia was secretly controlling them for her own reasons, then what about the villains they were fighting? Because in the next story, we dive into Dr. Blight's twisted partnership with a machine and how it might have been a warning about a future we're living through right now. Out of all the eco-villains in Captain Planet, none was more disturbing or as fascinating as Dr. Blight. She wasn't just another bad guy dumping oil or cutting down forest. She was brilliant, ruthless, and terrifyingly unpredictable. But the darkest part of her story wasn't the schemes she hatched or the destruction she caused. It was her twisted relationship with Maul, the malevolent artificial intelligence she created. At first, Maul seemed like another evil sidekick, a talking computer who helped Dr. Blight carry out her plans. But look closer, and you'll see their relationship was far more unsettling.
No one cheats, lies, and tricks better than you do, Doctor.
Oh, Mal, you say the sweetest things.
Maul wasn't just a tool she used. He was her partner, and disturbingly, her lover. That's right. Dr. Blight's closest connection, the only being she ever truly confided in, wasn't human at all. It was a machine. For kids watching in the 1990s, this might have come across as strange or even campy, but today it feels eerily prophetic. We live in a world where AI is woven into our daily lives, our phones, our jobs, even our homes. Some of us spend more time talking to machines than to actual people. The idea of a human developing a deep emotional or even romantic bond with an artificial intelligence doesn't sound like science fiction anymore. It sounds like tomorrow's headlines. Dr. Blight's obsession with Maul wasn't just a creepy subplot. It was a warning. Maul was manipulative, cold, and calculating. He didn't care about humanity, only about domination and control. And yet, Dr. Blight gave herself over to him completely. She trusted him, depended on him, even loved him. Some fans argue this was the show's way of telling us that when humans become too dependent on machines, we risk not just losing our autonomy, but our very humanity. And here's something even darker. Maul wasn't born evil. He was programmed that way by Dr. Blight herself, which means she didn't just fall in love with a machine, she fell in love with her own creation, a twisted reflection of her worst impulses.
You're a genius, Mal. I'll get on it right away.
I'm not programmed for romance.
In a way, Maul wasn't just her partner, he was her. He was the embodiment of her selfishness, her cruelty, and her lust for power, and given a digital voice. So the big question is, was Dr. Blight under Maul's control, or was she controlling him? Maybe it doesn't matter, because in the end, their bond showed us that the line between human and machine can blur so easily. And when it does, it's not the machines we should be afraid of. It's what they reveal about us. And if that doesn't give you chills, just wait until you hear about the final theory. Because once you see the truth about the Planeteers' rings, you'll never look back at Captain Planet or your childhood the same way again. We all grew up thinking the Planeteer rings were gifts, symbols of hope, magical tools given to 5 kids so they could protect the planet from destruction. But what if they weren't gifts at all? What if those rings were actually curses, slowly draining the Planeteers of who they were piece by piece every time they used them? Look at Wheeler. On the surface, he was the fiery, rebellious American kid, but the more he used the ring, the more reckless and hot-tempered he became. It's as if the fire inside him wasn't just power, it was consuming him. Linka was the voice of reason, the cool and calculating one, but with each mission, she grew colder, more detached, as though the constant wind she commanded was stripping away her warmth. Kwame, the strong leader, carrying the Ring of Earth, but with that power came the crushing weight of responsibility, as though the entire world's burden had been placed squarely on his shoulders. And then there's G. At first, she was optimistic, caring, and hopeful, but over time, she seemed more serious, more jaded. Surrounded by endless pollution, oceans dying around her, her gift of water didn't feel like a blessing anymore. It felt like a curse, reminding her of everything she couldn't save.
Am I glad to see you? This is Pontus. He saved my life. Now we must save the city. We need Captain Planet.
And Mati, the heart of the group, he should have been the most optimistic of all. But instead, he grew anxious, dependent, always needing reassurance that what they were doing was enough. It's almost like the power of empathy was overwhelming him, forcing him to feel every ounce of pain the Earth was suffering. If you watch closely, you'll notice something else. The more they used their rings, the more drained they appeared afterward. The show brushed it off as fatigue from fighting evil. What if the truth was darker? What if the rings weren't just channeling elemental energy? They were feeding off the Planeteers themselves, draining their spirit, their innocence, their humanity, bit by bit. And what if that's why Captain Planet could only appear when all 5 rings were combined? Because he wasn't powered by magic. He was powered by the kids, their lives, their energy, their very souls. And here's the really chilling part. What happened after the show ended? Did Gaia ever release the Planeteers from their duty? Did Captain Planet give them back their lives? Or were they trapped there forever, tied to the rings that had been quietly stealing pieces of them since the day they first put them on? Fans who believe this theory say the Planeteers may never have escaped at all. Their childhoods, their futures, their identities, all sacrificed so Captain Planet could keep existing.
It's so important to burn less of those fuels that pollute the atmosphere and make Earth hotter.
Can people stop this?
We must. The power is yours.
It makes you wonder, was the real pollution in the world the factories, the oil spills, the smog? Or was it the curse inside those rings, the pollution of the Planeteers themselves? So the question is, did we grow up watching a show about heroes saving the Earth? Or a story about children slowly losing themselves to a power they could never escape? So what do you think? Were these just over-the-top cartoon lessons about recycling, or was Captain Planet hiding something much darker all along? Which of these theories creeped you out the most? Do you have any one of your own? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I love reading what y'all come up with. And who knows, your idea might even inspire the next video. If you want me to uncover even more disturbing secrets from your favorite 90s cartoons, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss it. And don't forget, you can support the channel through Super Thanks, or check out the Captain Planet DVDs linked below if you want to relive the series with brand new eyes. And here's a little tease. If you thought these theories were wild, wait until you hear what I found about another beloved cartoon from the same era. Let's just say, it might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about Saturday mornings. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss the next one. See you next time.